Welcome back to the channel. Today, April 22nd, DC Dark Legion has just released a new update, and I've carefully read through the entire patch notes from start to finish. To be honest, this update has some things that I'm really hyped about, but there are also a few points that made me raise an eyebrow. Anyway, no more rambling, let's go through each part in detail together. Let's start with what I think is the most exciting part of this update, which is the new event called Feline Fugitive. This event will open on April 24th and requires your war room to be at least level 10. In terms of lore, this is one of the most interesting concepts I've seen in this game. Catwoman is hired by Savage to steal a treasure, but instead of keeping it for him, she intentionally leaves behind clues for Batman to follow. This is basically a cat and mouse game between Batman and Catwoman, and it stays very true to their classic relationship in DC Comics. I really like this narrative because it's not just you go in, fight monsters, and get rewards like usual. It actually has story depth behind it. As for the gameplay of the event, you'll use Bat GPRs to detect and excavate hidden treasures on the map. This mechanic sounds pretty interesting, but basically it's similar to other systems where you need luck and you need to spend money to have more chances at better rewards. Of course, you can also earn Thieves Market tokens during the event, and these tokens can be exchanged for valuable items in the event store. I'll go into more detail about the event and its start date later. Next, let's talk about what I think is the most impactful change to the current meta, which is the update to Superman's legacy piece, Solar Recovery Suit. For those who don't know, the Solar Recovery Suit is Superman's legendary black suit, which appeared in the comics after the Death of Superman event, when Clark Kent was revived and needed a special suit to absorb solar energy and restore his power. It has huge lore significance. In this update, the exclusive skill Kryptonian Shockwave of this set has been given a completely new effect. And honestly, it sounds extremely broken if I can use that word. Specifically, when Superman takes fatal damage for the first time, if at least one teammate is still alive instead of dying, he survives with 1 HP and immediately consumes all energy to cast his ultimate. On top of that, it also allows him to recover a massive amount of HP after using the ultimate. And since the one wearing it is Superman, who already has very high attack, combined with this legacy, he becomes almost immortal. Do you understand what this means? Mechanically, Superman is being given an on-demand resurrection combined with a guaranteed ultimate trigger. This is the kind of skill that in any strategy game would be called a game changer. In PvP modes like Meta Brawl or Strategic Challenge, meaning 3v3, a Superman equipped with this legacy piece at the right moment can completely turn the tide of the battle. I really support this design direction because it makes legacy pieces not just cosmetic or simple stat buffs, but something that truly creates new strategies. However, I also have to point out a concern. With such a powerful effect, game balance becomes a big question mark. If this legacy piece is too easy to access, then basically teams without Superman will be at a significant disadvantage in the meta. The devs need to closely monitor the data after this update goes live and be ready to nerf if necessary. In fact, the survive with 1 HP effect in a well-built defensive team with a strong healer could become an extremely frustrating combo to deal with. I'll keep watching community feedback before making a final judgment, but this is definitely the thing you should pay the most attention to in this update. Now moving on to a part that honestly surprised me because it came so late, which is the world map improvements. 2 changes have been added. First, you can now zoom out the world map to get a wider view. Second, there is now a minimap in overview mode, allowing you to move quickly by tapping or dragging. I have to give credit to the devs for listening to community feedback, because these are 2 QOL features that players have been asking for a long time. On forums and the game's Discord, I've seen many complaints about how clunky map navigation was, especially as the game expanded into multiple Earths. Now with the minimap and zoom out feature, managing territory, tracking league members' positions, and moving to needed locations becomes much faster. However, I can't actually use this because I'm playing on an emulator. For those of you playing on mobile, can you use the zoom out feature? Feel free to comment below the video. Now let's talk about the long-term improvements for League-related game modes. This update touches four of the biggest modes in the game: Guardian Challenge, Great Krypton Rush, Battle for Gotham, and Ultimate Battle for Gotham. In particular, the devs have adjusted the building occupation scoring system by increasing the amount of battle honor earned when capturing different types of buildings. I think this is the right direction because previously, many leagues tended to focus only on a few high-scoring buildings and ignore the rest, which made PvP gameplay feel repetitive and lacking in strategy. By spreading battle honor more evenly, the devs are encouraging leagues to spread out their forces and engage more points across the map. In theory, this should create more skirmishes, more opportunities for smaller leagues to contribute, and reduce the absolute dominance of super whale leagues that could win just by rushing a few objectives. Specifically for Battle for Gotham and Ultimate Battle for Gotham, there are three notable changes. First, the devs added a completely new capturable building, Gotham Plaza. Second, the maximum number of defenders allowed at Gotham City Hall and Gotham Armories has been reduced. Third, the display of healing assistance requests has been improved. Adding Gotham Plaza is an interesting move because it literally expands the battlefield. But what I care more about is the reduction of defenders at City Hall and Armories, because this directly addresses a long-standing complaint from many players. Key positions on the map were often turtled by a large number of defenders, to the point where they were nearly impossible to break without overwhelming power. Reducing defenders creates a more open and fair PvP environment. I agree with this decision. However, I do have a concern. By reducing defenders at key positions, will the game shift too heavily toward attackers? Balancing offense and defense in a strategy game is always tricky, and I hope the devs have carefully tested these numbers before pushing them to the live server. If City Hall becomes too easy to capture, it could flip the problem instead of solving it. As for Great Krypton Rush, I find two improvements in this update quite practical. The devs added tutorials for safe zones and bases, and they also merged coordinated assault mails to reduce notification spam in the mailbox. Tutorials for safe zones and bases are something many new players need, since Great Krypton Rush has more complex mechanics than other events. As for merging coordinated assault mails, it's a small QOL change, but very much appreciated. Anyone who has played this game long enough knows the feeling of opening the mailbox and seeing dozens of coordinated assault notifications flooding in, which is both distracting and makes you miss important mails. Personally, I don't even bother checking that tab most of the time. The improvements to the league profile screen are also worth mentioning. The devs added displays for perks tied to the league's honor tier for the current week, improved how league event information is shown with Battle for Gotham rankings, league duel tier, and Guardian challenge info, and also improved how league medals are displayed. I really like this direction because the league profile screen used to lack useful information. Finally, in the general improvement, I appreciate. The cord chip system has already been one of the most interesting strategic layers introduced in the game, and now expanding it into Strategic Challenge allows you to customize squad buildouts in much more detail for each combat situation. However, I want to warn you, this also means that players who invest more into the cord chip system will have a clear advantage in Strategic Challenge, and that could further widen the gap between whale and free-to-play players if the devs don't carefully balance the distribution of cord chip resources. What still needs improvement is the pace of adding basic QOL features, the fact that events still have entry barriers for new players, and the risk of balance issues once this new Superman legacy piece becomes widely used. I'll continue to monitor and update you if anything noteworthy comes up. If you find this video helpful, remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. I'm someone who speaks honestly, doesn't overhype, doesn't criticize without reason, and only analyzes based on real experience. See you in the next video.